UFC 249. This is 3-Star Recruits Fight Corner. First time we're doing this. A couple complications. Russ didn't have a mic. I know it wasn't recording.
Nope.
And we're back.
We're good to go.
All right. So we watched most of the undercard.
We did.
We were tossing back and forth between cornhole and that.
Nice.
And then
was that a cornhole pun? Tossing back and forth.
No, it wasn't, bud. Good catch.
I like it.
I like it. Yeah. The fight that really caught my eye, so we can start there. Well, no, it was the first fight that we watched. I was like, that's a solid fight. Was Bryce Mitchell defeated Charles Rosa in the featherweight division.
Yes.
And so I actually had someone say to me, like, I turned on the fights. I was watching the prelims, and I watched the Mitchell fight, and it was boring. And I was like, that wasn't boring. That was a complete chess match, jiu-jitsu style.
Right. Yeah. I think, unfortunately, we see a lot of casual fans.
Yes, thanks for using that word.
All they want is big punches that are breaking noses. They don't appreciate the mixed part of mixed martial arts.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. It takes just as much, if not more, skill to become a jiu-jitsu master. And
yeah,
if you understand and can appreciate that, then two guys.
Yeah, and I don't think people understand how good of his jiu-jitsu it was, because the kid he beat, Rosa, is no slouch in jiu-jitsu. He's a black belt, and he looked like a complete amateur. He's got mauled. He got outworked. Yeah. So I did my background on Mitchell. He's now 4-0 in the UFC. One of those wins was part of the maybe Contender Series or something like that.
Do they count those on the record? I know, like the Ultimate Fighter show, they won't count those on the record.
Yeah. So I had down 3-0.
Yeah.
He's 13-0 professionally.
Okay.
I have him down as 3-0 because he only has 3 fights on a UFC card, whether it be fight nights or pay-per-views. I think this actually was his first pay-per-view. He's looked solid every fight, and definitely after the performance the other night, I think you have to give him a ranked opponent. He's still unranked. So I think you give him a ranked opponent in that division, just to kind of say, all right, well, you've put in your time, showed us you got it. Let's give you not super ranked, like give a guy it's like 10th, 12th, somewhere in there. Yep. Give him a shot at one of those guys. But yeah, he looked good. Young kid, man. He can be really good. He can be a problem in that division. The other fight was we actually missed some of this fight, rewound it to watch it. Was Vicente Luque defeated Nico Price. Yeah. And when you and I turned it on, Nico had one eye.
Yeah. We were watching cornhole.
Yeah.
We turned it back at the end of the fight and saw Price looking into the camera. It looked like at least half of his face was ready to explode.
He looked like Bubba J.
Yeah.
One eye open.
Yeah, we both looked at each other and were like, well, we're going to rewind this and watch it.
So we rewound that, and they got in a phone booth and just started swinging. Yeah. Nico would come out with a missed call.
Yeah.
And so they ended up, it was a doctor stoppage.
Yes.
So I don't know what's next. Both those guys just kind of floating there. I think they're still trying to find their place within UFC.
Yeah. Those doctor stoppages it's like a double-edged sword, right?
I wouldn't want that job.
Yeah. You're going to make the fans, there were no fans in the arena, but fans at home unhappy that you're stopping a fight really before it's over, if you will. But yeah, ultimately you've got to protect the fighter. If you have a fighter that can't see out of one eye, it's probably a good call. But as a fan, you love seeing that damage. You love seeing the punches that caused that damage.
Yeah.
But then you don't want him to stop it because he's got the damage. So it's
but you got to understand there's
feelings about it.
So let's stop there for a minute before I go on to the next fight. Because you mentioned there was no fans. What were your thoughts on?
So overall, watching it at home, I think there's positives and negatives to the whole situation, right?
Yeah.
There's clearly a much more energetic atmosphere when the fans are there.
There's probably fighters that thrive off that.
Yeah. So I think if you're there in person, whether you're a fighter, you're an announcer, you're any part of the corner staff, etc., you probably want those fans there to hype the whole atmosphere up. But we mentioned a number of times that you could hear so much more watching it on TV without fans. And obviously we thought of the punches and kicks. You could hear how much more solid they were. But afterwards I got thinking you could also hear the corner's instructions to the fighters a lot better. There was even at least one or two times you and I mentioned we heard the fighters actually talking to each other.
Yeah, you could hear them
yelling
talking
at each other. There was one fight where they were down on the ground rolling, and they said something to each other. They didn't quite clearly what they said.
But you could hear they were talking to each other.
Yeah, so that's an interesting aspect we don't think about, that the two fighters, they're not just throwing punches. Sometimes they are actually talking to each other.
Yeah, I know Khabib's big on talking to whoever he's fighting. But
Yeah.
I actually didn't mind it. It was a little odd a couple times. You get Bruce Buffer in there. Bruce Buffer did his thing, and he announced a fighter, and crickets.
I thought that was a bit extreme. The introductions probably could have been toned down a little bit, because to me, the reason he's there doing those introductions is to hype the crowd up. Yeah. Otherwise, he's just giving us information that we're already reading on the screen. Yeah, you can throw it
on the screen.
So that was a little weird.
I did like the aspect. There was, it sucks there's not a crowd there. It was good to see sports come back. It's a good start. Yep. I think this might start pushing the envelope for the rest of them to open up. Yeah. Yep. But I did like the aspect where you heard a lot more. Yeah. You could hear punches. You could just hear them landing. It just sounded so much more solid. Yeah. You could hear leather hitting face. I know even one fighter said he heard one of the commentators mention something he was doing wrong.
Yep.
And made an adjustment.
Yep. I'm sure that has never happened before in a pay-per-view event.
Yeah. No.
So you had Joe Rogan, who was Anik.
And you had Cormier,
yeah. And they were also spaced out. Usually they're at one table together. They were spaced out on some different sides of the octagon. So even though they're talking into a microphone with headphones, their instinct is probably to talk a little louder because you're talking to somebody that's over on the other side. And you probably can't
hear yourself because you had a headset on.
Yeah, so they probably were speaking loud enough for the fighters to be able to hear them. And
that was funny. Like someone brought that up. Like, well, I heard DC over there telling me you start checking kicks. So I started checking kicks.
Yep.
So yeah, it was a different aspect, but it was good to see a fight. Yeah. They're getting some fights in. I know there's a card Wednesday night.
Yep.
Which I think is a makeup.
Yep. So I know that one for sure is also at Jacksonville. It's in the same arena. So I'm sure that's why we're seeing a quicker turnaround. Like you say, we never see Wednesday.
Yeah, they didn't travel,
Because there's no travel, they didn't have to tear the ring down.
Where are they Saturday? Because they fight Saturday, too.
Yeah. Let me see if I can look that up real quick.
This is where we need our stat person. Yeah, I think that, I don't know where that's at, but they do fight Saturday. Yeah. The one fight I am interested in on Wednesday night is the Anthony Smith. Yep. But I'll get into that a little bit later. So while you're looking that up, I'll move on to the next one. Alexei Oleinik fought Fabricio Verdum, beat him in a split decision.
Yep.
Oleinik, I feel like he just fought not too long ago, probably within the last 4 months. He's 42 years old. The guy's probably got 100 fights under his belt.
Yeah.
There's nothing about him. It's like fluid. He's great on the ground. And Verdum is coming off a suspension. He had a 2-year layoff, suspension. He's also 42 years old. He's been around a long time.
He's been around a while.
Yeah. And you and I were talking. I was in Cleveland.
Yep.
When they rang the bell and he came across the ring, kicked Travis Brown right in the face, and then he kicked Travis Brown's corner after the fight. So Saturdays
is also in Jacksonville at the same arena.
So they're just getting it in while they can.
Yeah. So that'll be 3 events within a 7-8 day span in the same arena.
Good for UFC, man.
That's all they have listed. I'm on UFC's website, UFC.com. Wednesday and Saturday, the only events they have listed for the future at the moment. So beyond Saturday, they haven't formally announced anything yet.
There was supposed to be a card June 5th or 6th, and they postponed it, but I think that was supposed to be outside the country.
Okay.
And that might have been Nunez fighting, and I think they postponed it.
I don't know who owns this. So this arena we looked up is a small arena where East Coast Hockey League team plays. There's an arena football.
Yeah.
I didn't look up the seating capacity. I'm guessing it's only about 5,000 seats
probably,
or so.
Yeah.
Whoever owns that arena, if it's an individual owner, is probably loving this situation.
Oh, absolutely.
He's bringing in big money.
Yeah.
I don't know how it all works. I'm sure he's getting a cut of whatever the UFC is making off this, and it's probably substantially more than he would off his normal teams that are in there.
One thing I wanted to look up today, and I forgot to look up today, was pay-per-view buys, which I don't think is actually public yet. Usually takes a few days for that to come in.
Yeah, sometimes I watch some of the post-fight press conferences, and probably halftime Dana has those numbers, and halftime he doesn't.
Yeah, he usually mentions gate, which there was zero because nobody was there, but I think he probably sold a lot of UFC fights.
Yeah, I would say it's got to be at least 25% higher than it usually is.
Yeah, it's
completely guessing on
that.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of people who are like, well, I got nothing else to do tonight. Yeah. You have sports back? Yeah. I'm doing this. All right, so next fight, I loved it, was Anthony Pettis, Cowboy Cerrone.
Two good friends, by the way.
Yeah.
They're good friends.
Posted pictures of them after the fight, drinking beer together at the hotel.
Yeah, that's got to be so weird to stand in the ring and punch your good friend in the
they fought one other time.
Yep.
And then from there, it kind of developed into a friendship. And how do you dislike Cowboy? I'm like, he's such a nice guy. But
so I think Pettis is now 2-0 in those matches, right?
I think so, yeah. So I looked up. So I was just really curious about Pettis because he's a guy that floats back and forth between 155, 170. Mm-hmm. And he is actually ranked 15th at 170 pounds. But that's because I think he's new to the division.
Right.
And then Cowboys ranked 6th at lightweight, coming off a loss to Connor. I don't know where Cowboy goes from here. For him, he's one of those guys I have written down. It's his motto: anytime, anybody, anytime, anywhere. Yeah. I think he just loves it.
I think Joe Rogan joked either during or after that fight that Cowboy was probably going to go in the back and try to get on the Wednesday card.
Yeah.
So, it wouldn't put it past him to try to fight 3 times this week.
Yeah. So I don't know where he goes from there as far as like goals and career path. I mean,
I know Pettis and Cowboy combined were 0 wins in their last 5 fights. I can't remember which one had 3 losses and which one had 2 going into it. But
so Pettis is so Pettis beat Wonder Boy. He knocked out Wonder Boy. It's the only time Wonder Boy's ever been knocked out. And then he lost his next 2 fights to Diaz and Diego Ferreira.
Okay. So that means Cowboy must have had 3 losses going into it.
Yeah.
We obviously know he lost to Connor.
Yep.
The previous fight. If that's true, then he's on a 4-fight loss streak, which doesn't probably affect his mindset, and we know Dana loves him. But
he'll fight, because he's a company guy. He fights anybody. He's a draw.
At this point, I think Cowboy's fighting for the love of fighting and a paycheck. He's not really in a conversation for a belt at this point.
So that was my question with Pettis is like, Pettis is 33 years old. He's got 33 fights. He's 23-10 professionally. Still not that old. 33 fights is a lot of fights for a 33-year-old, but where do you go from here? I mean, he was trying to make a run at 155. He got derailed, kind of like with Poirier beating him.
Yeah.
It's kind of back and forth. He's lost his last 2. It's like, what do you go from here? Do you make an honest run at 170? I mean, you lost to Diaz, you lost to Ferreira. I just don't know what he does. Like, he's another guy. Like, do you just kind of hang out and say, what do I want to do from here? He's 33. You want to try to cut weight again? You look pretty heavy for 170.
He did, yeah.
So do you want to try to cut weight again at 150? 155 is a log jam. I think you stay at 170, see if you can want to run. I don't think you go to 185.
No, I don't think he'd survive in that weight class.
No.
Yeah, I guess I don't really have an answer. That's a tough call if you're Pettis.
Yeah.
What to do. I think 155 is probably tougher right now, the division. Just because of that, he might lean towards 170 and
just stay there. Yeah. You don't think he really has to cut much weight, if any at all.
Yeah, probably not.
Just get a paycheck.
Yeah.
You hope to go on a good run and get a title shot.
Yeah, never know.
Yeah. So we move on to the main card. That was a main event for the undercard.
Yep.
And Greg Hardy defeated Castro by decision.
Yeah. I don't have too many notes written down about that. I'm not a Greg Hardy fan.
Me either.
Made that clear during the fight. He's got a sketchy past that.
Yeah.
I don't know. To be honest, I don't even remember a whole lot of that fight. Therefore, it tells me it wasn't really all that exciting.
I mean, Hardy was the guy who said, I had to start checking kicks because I heard DC.
Yes. Yeah, you're right.
I'm not a big Greg Hardy fan, but I got to give you credit where credit's due. The guy's a hell of an athlete.
Oh,
he could be a good fighter.
Yep.
I think if he has his skills develop, he'll become more and more of a problem at heavyweight because he's got great cardio for a heavyweight.
Yes.
Really good cardio for heavyweight. I mean, it probably dips back in his background playing football.
Yeah,
but
that's not an accident.
So I actually, so I actually have as a possible fight for him, maybe fight Alexei Oleinik. Not a highly ranked guy. Maybe get your touch at a ranked opponent.
Yeah.
See, kind of measure your skills. Where are you at?
Yep. We talked while we were watching the event. They showed the upcoming events, and they showed the heavyweight ranks on there. And I made the comment about Junior Dos Santos being ranked, I think, the 4th contender.
Yep.
And to me, he's a name that's fallen off the map the last couple of years. Yeah. So that alone shows how weak overall the heavyweight division is. So if you could have a guy like Hardy string a few wins together in a very weak division, you never know what could happen.
Right. So I think that'd be good. I think it's time for him to test his skills.
Yeah.
He's won the last couple of fights. He had no contest because of the whole inhaler situation.
Yeah. I mean, I think skills wise, if you put him into a championship fight right now against the likes of Stipe, even DC,
he wouldn't last.
Nagano,
no.
he would stand no chance there. But if you can get another 3 fights against guys that are ranked, 7 to 12 or something, maybe
test your skills and see where you're at. Yeah, he's still really early in his career.
Yep.
So that wasn't a great fight. It wasn't a bad fight, but he does have great cardio for heavyweight.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem to gas out as quick as the rest of them. Next fight was Calvin Kattar defeated Jeremy Stephens.
He did.
And this is just, I said it like 3 times when the fight was over. I was like, man, I really like Jeremy Stephens. Guy comes in, he's there to fight. He's almost like, I don't want to say he's a cowboy, but Dana White's got to love him because the guy's like, yeah, I'll fight that guy, yeah, I'll fight. Yeah. He's always up for it.
We do know, though, the one thing Dana White hates the most is guys missing weight. And Stevenson was not even
4.5 pounds.
Was not even close. Stevens, excuse me, not Stevenson.
Yeah, 4.5 pounds.
4.5 pounds that's a big miss, especially for a guy that's not overweight. He's not a pudgy guy or anything like that, and he did not come close on the weight cut.
No,
it's one thing to miss by a half pound or a pound, but 4.5.
Someone brought up, is it possible these guys, he missed weight, not trying to make an excuse, but they didn't have saunas or they couldn't get to a gym but at the same time, it's like you just forfeited 30% of your purse because you missed weight.
Yeah.
You could take 5% of that and buy yourself one of those portable saunas.
Yeah. Right. You could, they have those suits, I say sweatsuit, not a sweatsuit, but the
sauna suits or whatever they call them. Yeah.
You throw one of those on with sweatpants and a sweatshirt over it and ride a stationary bike.
Something.
It's going to have a similar effect.
Yeah. But, I feel like, and what else are you doing right now?
Yeah, really.
You got nothing but time, so start. You can't, even if you can't go to the gym. So, disappointing, but
And Kattar won that fight by TKO with one of the more vicious elbows I've seen in a while.
I thought it was a punch at first.
You and I both thought it was a punch, and it wasn't until they showed the slow-mo replay that we saw it was actually a right elbow.
And then the left elbow.
And then Stevens went down. Kattar, I think, missed a punch and then threw the left elbow that cut him wide open. So that was 2 elbows that were very vicious.
Do you want to talk about the school nurse that came in the ring that shouldn't have been there?
Yeah. Yeah, so she came in a couple times. That was the first time we noticed her.
Yeah.
And she looked like she was scared of blood.
Yeah.
She
looked like she should have been a school nurse checking heads for lice.
As soon as she saw that cut and the amount of blood that was pouring out of it, it was like she was hands off.
She go to touch and then she'd back off like,
yeah,
I think he's bleeding.
Yeah. If you're, again, that's just my perception. It looked like she was afraid of blood. And if that's true, you should not be working for the UFC.
No, you should not be working for the UFC, the Athletic Commission at a UFC event.
Right.
Yeah. Don't. No.
Are they provided by the commission? They're not traveling.
Possibly. I think the UFC has their own staff, probably after fights and stuff to check them out.
Right.
They go through like a medical exam.
We see the same cut guys and whatnot traveling with the UFC, but
I think they all get their license, just like referees. I think they get their license in the States.
Based on the state, yeah.
So I don't know how universal it is, but I'm just guessing here. But Kattar, since 2018, has won 4 out of his last 6. Looked pretty good.
Yeah, he's a guy I know the name, but I admittedly don't know a ton about him.
Yeah. So here's my thought. Cater fights Frankie Edgar.
Okay.
Frankie Edgar's kind of aspiring on that division. Just not quite sure what he wants to do. He fought Holloway and got beat.
Yeah.
For a belt. It's like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Cater's up and coming. Like, go give yourself a true test of a veteran in Frankie Edgar. See how it goes. I like Jeremy Stevens. I told you that. He's a guy who shows up to fight. He puts on a show. Unfortunately, though, since July of 2018, he's lost his last 4 fights.
Yeah.
He had one no contest to Yair Rodriguez, which they rescheduled, and then he lost it.
Yeah.
And he's been knocked out a couple times. And he's almost become that gatekeeper for the division, where he's ranked 7 right now. So, guys are up and coming. It's like, all right, you got to fight Stevens.
Yeah.
To kind of, see where you're at.
Yeah. Yeah, it's unfortunate. We know Dana stays loyal to these veterans that have been around for a while, but at some point, you're saying those 4 losses.
4 in a row.
If that gets to 5 or 6, eventually you're probably going to get cut. At some point, even as likable as you are, you got to produce some wins.
Or you're on a really early undercard.
Yeah, and not getting paid a whole lot.
Yep.
Which, if you love fighting, then so be it. But.
So I have actually possible for him, maybe Dan Ig, IGE, Dan Ig.
Okay.
Maybe possibility he's kind of up and coming, trying to find his way.
Yeah.
So maybe the two of them get together and spar it out.
All right.
And then we got Nagano.
Oh, my.
I actually didn't even write down the guy's name.
It's Rosenstrike.
Rosenstrike, yes.
I don't know. Can't remember his first name, but.
So what I thought was funny was Nagano, when they asked him about this fight, they showed the pre-fight clip, like the video thing they put together, the edit.
Yeah.
He's like, I didn't know who this guy was. Someone told me I called out. You had to Google him.
Yep. That's awesome. So, Rosenstrike, like you said, won a fight, called out Nagano. And in my opinion, Francis Ngannou might have the biggest knockout power we've ever seen in the UFC.
I would agree with that.
If not, he's in the conversation of the top.
He doesn't have the best skills, but knockout power?
Understood. But it's just raw power. It may be the most power we've ever seen in the UFC. And
they're still attaching Overeem's head back to his shoulders.
Oh, my goodness. That's probably the most vicious punch I've seen in the UFC. The single, one single punch. Yeah, if you haven't seen that, go look up Francis Ngannou's knockout over Alistair Overeem. That fight, I don't even have the time written down. It was less than 20 seconds.
It was officially 20 seconds.
Okay. So Ngannou came out, 0 technique. It just looked like he knew this guy can't knock me out, and all I've got to do is land a punch or two. I think he threw 3 punches that missed, and his 4th was a left hook that connected, and it wasn't even like a monster punch.
It wasn't even a full left hook.
And
it's like a 3/4 wedge from the hip, just straight across his schnoz.
And when that landed, Rosenstrike was only 3 or 4 feet away from the cage, and he was asleep before he hit the cage. And then I believe Ngannou landed one more punch.
He landed like an uppercut.
So it only took one half-assed left hook to knock him out.
Yeah.
I mean, that was impressive.
Yeah, there was no hip into it. It was just like, I'm going to swing my arm.
Yeah, that was crazy.
He does. And it was funny thing was we were watching the fight, and they kept showing like tweets in the corner. And I joked, I'm like, I'm gonna try to tweet some smart ass shit and see if we can get it on TV. I couldn't even finish the tweet and tweet it out.
Right. Fight was over.
So I guess I deleted most of the tweet, and I was like, is he awake yet?
Yeah.
He was out.
Yep. So Francis Ngannou had, I don't know the date, it was a couple years ago, maybe 2, that he fought Derek Lewis. And the 2 of them stood there and barely threw any punches. We don't know why. I don't think we ever got a reason from either of them why that fight was so.
And he caught a lot
boring.
of shit from Dana, not from the media, not so much the media.
Yep.
Because Dana White was not happy.
Right. I think it might even been a co-main event on that card.
Yeah.
It was definitely on a pay-per-view. And ever since that fight, it seems like he's gotten the message and he's looked unstoppable.
You better go fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't stand in there.
I mean, if I'm somebody like Stipe, who's sitting there with the belt, I don't know that I want to take those punches from him.
Stipe already beat him.
He did, yeah.
He was just very technical about it, and he just worked his way, picked him apart.
Yeah.
So while we're in the heavyweight division, when Nagano, because I said, what's next for you? And he's like, I don't know. Kind of sucks. The division's kind of hung up. So
I also kind of got the vibe that he was too nice, too reserved to call anyone out.
I would turn around and said, I would turn around to DC and say, get your ass in the ring.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I would have done, just because I don't like the guy. So, but that brings me to my next point. Is today DC said he would fight for the belt if he would fight Nagano for the belt if they strip Stipe. It's okay.
So maybe I'm out of the loop a little bit. Why would they be stripping Stipe?
They're not, but that's DC wants to retire. He claims he's going to retire. He's only got one more fight. I'm going to fight Stipe for the trilogy, and I'm going to retire. But Stipe is kind of on the sidelines right now. So he got poked in the eye by Cormier in their last fight and had an eye injury.
Okay.
He's also a firefighter normally.
Yep.
So he's been dealing. I think he's doing a lot with like the pandemic stuff. And then gyms are closed right now. The guy lives in Ohio still. It's not like he's got a big private gym.
Yeah.
So then today DC comes out and says, I would fight Nagano for like a vacated belt if they strip Stipe, because I'm ready to fight. So less than an hour ago, Stipe responded and said, and I quote, I've already said I'm going to fight DC. He just likes to make noise. My team is working on securing a training location and dates with the UFC. I have 5 belts at home. I don't need to sit on anything. If I didn't have a torn retina, I would have already fought and retired DC.
I like that.
Me too.
So, yeah, without knowing the extent of Stipe's injury or whatever he's going through, you can make the argument that all fighters are struggling to find a facility to train.
Absolutely.
At the moment.
Right. Some might have better options than others, but
yeah, to me, that's just DC pulling an idea out of his ass that's not necessarily realistic.
He's making noise.
You could name almost every fighter in the UFC would say, hey, I'll fight so-and-so if you strip the champ and give one of us the shot at the belt.
Coward move.
Right. Yeah, I don't
It's a bullshit move. And you know damn well why Stipe is not fighting you right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't quite understand that from DC's.
I don't think DC could make 265 right now.
No, probably not.
Yeah, so DC's right. He's just making noise. And if you know the areas DC's from, or Stipe, I'm sorry, is from, yeah, I'm not sure there is a gym available.
Right.
It's like out in the middle of nowhere, Ohio. So
yeah,
he's pretty true to his roots.
So, yeah, I just think Nagano's power is just unbelievably impressive, and I don't, despite the fact that Stipe has beat him in the past, I mean, one punch, he could knock anybody out.
Yeah.
Anybody.
Absolutely.
A weak left-handed punch from a right-handed guy. That was insane.
So we'll see. I think Stipe will be back as soon as he can.
Yeah.
It's not a matter if he doesn't want, like you said, it's not that I don't want to.
Right.
I got 5 belts at home.
Yeah.
What makes you think I don't want to fight? So,
yeah.
Because to me, there are guys out there who win the belt. They sit around and chirp, I'm the champ, I'm the champ, I'm the best, against social media. Then it comes time to fight, and they drag it out and drag it out.
Yeah.
First person that comes to mind is Kamaru Usman.
Yep.
Finally got the belt. He beat Woodley. He looked good in that fight, but then ever since then, I'm hurt. I got to do this. Then he chirps. Then Masvidal corners him like, you want to fight? Oh, I got a cast on. So we'll see. That could be, like you said, the heavyweight division could be weak after, 3-4 guys. I mean, especially DC's going to retire. There's a guy gone out of the heavyweight division.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's going to make that really thin.
Yep.
Next fight got interesting. I'm not a fan of this guy, Henry Cejudo. He beat Cruz in a TKO.
Yeah. I'm not really a fan of him either. The more I think about it, he puts on this like persona, mean mugging going around, and yes, he's got some accolades. He's had success, but to me, he's kind of bordering on that line of like WWF showman, rather than just a fighter,
right?
And I think that's why I'm not a fan of him.
You think his retirement's legit?
I don't.
Me either.
No.
So I think his contract's up, and he wasn't happy. He wasn't getting paid after he won the belt from Dillashaw.
Right.
So I think it's a contract negotiation tactic.
Yeah.
A really shitty one because it's the oldest one in the book.
Yeah. So if you didn't watch, he beat Dom Cruz by TKO at the very end of the second round and then essentially retired in the post-fight interview. But, yeah, there's already a lot of speculation, like you just said, that this is just a move to negotiate his next contract, trying to pull extra money out of Dana White to get him to come back, even if he has no intention of actually leaving.
Now, I wanted to see Cruz win this fight. I knew the chances were going to be tough. Cruz has been on the sidelines for like 3 years after he lost to Garbrandt. Cruz has a unique style with his footwork.
Yeah.
He's very quick, likes to just dot people up as he moves.
Yep.
He's a very smart guy because he calls fights fantastic. He's very smart.
Yeah, second to Joe Rogan, I think Cruz is probably
extremely
the best
smart. Yeah,
announcer. Yeah.
But I sent you a text yesterday, or was it today? Yesterday, today.
Last night.
Wasn't last night?
About the ref.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I watched the interview today. He did. He said the ref smelled like alcohol and cigarettes in the ring, and said, he goes, when I saw him, I wish I could veto a ref and not have him there.
Yeah.
And then he makes a bold accusation. I'm like, wow.
I thought that was, very bold. So we should say that we'll probably get to this in a second. The stoppage in that fight, Cruz thinks was controversial, too quick of a stop. So we'll get to that in a second.
Yep.
But he continued by, as you said, basically claiming that the ref smelled like alcohol and cigarettes. And he, like you said, wished he could have vetoed the ref and then wished he had a drug test for the ref after the fight. So, first of all, as much as I hate talking to somebody up close after they've been smoking cigarettes, there's nothing illegal about a guy smelling like cigarettes.
True.
Let's just at least put that part out there. But, yeah, if you got a ref in there that's had some drinks and is buzzed, slightly tipsy, that's not good.
No.
That's not good. So that I think Cruz has enough good standing with somebody like Dana White that if he makes that accusation,
it's going to get looked into.
Dana White's going to look into it. Now, it's probably got to be – it probably needed to be looked into Saturday night, right? You can't go back Monday, Tuesday, and
he made the accusation Saturday night. He did it when he was backstage and did an interview with Olivi.
Yep.
So I don't know if it is getting looked into. It's just weird because the way he said it wasn't like sarcastic, haha. Like he was like, he's just walking around and smelling like beer and cigarettes. And she was like, her expression was like, oh, wait, are you serious right now? And he's like, yeah, I am.
Yeah. So Megan Olivi, she actually stopped and had him confirm that. She's like, are you saying he smelled like alcohol and cigarettes?
Yeah.
So she heard it, stopped, and made him confirm. And he goes, oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So.
And he was, I've seen guys mad at refs before, but he was like whispering sweet nothings in that ref's ear and was like, don't touch me. Like, I thought the ref was going to get beat up.
Yeah. So afterwards, when they were getting to make the actual decision, he yanked his arm away and said something to him. And
he was not happy.
So I went back and looked at the stoppage. The more I look at it, I'm okay with it.
You good with it?
Stoppage. So, we saw a couple quick replays, and most of them, I think when we were watching, they weren't showing too many slow-mos, and the angle was kind of from above.
Yeah.
So from what I saw, Cejudo threw a right knee, which we'll say pretty much knocked him out for a second.
Yeah, it was kind of a lucky knee.
Yeah. Yep.
Cruz just happened to be moving that way when he jumped.
Yep. So either way, however it happened, the knee hit Cruz and, in my opinion, put him out for a second or two.
Yep.
Put him on his ass. Cruz did start to stand up, and Cejudo came in with a right hand and put him back down. And that's when Cejudo got on his back and started throwing lefts. From what I saw from some slow-mo replays, looking at this a few times, so he landed the knee, landed the big right, and then about 11 lefts did connect with his head. And the interesting thing was, while Cejudo was on his back throwing the lefts, there were two different times that Cruz looked like he tried to push up and his arm gave out and his forehead hit the mat. And it stayed there for another punch or two. And to me, that's a sign that this guy is in trouble. So afterwards, Cruz said, I was trying to get up. I was intelligently, whatever, trying to get up. And in my opinion, he never, at any point, he never covered his head to defend himself. Yet he took the knee and roughly 11 to 12 punches.
Right.
And twice those punches hit, and his forehead immediately went to the mat as if he was going out again. So I think you and I initially also asked about the time because the official time was 4:58, which means there was only 2 seconds left in the round. And in a championship fight, you, as a fan, you want to see him maybe prolong that to get to the next round.
Yeah, it puts the ref in a tough spot.
Exactly.
But you do know how much time's left because you hear the claps.
You hear the 10-second clap. Yeah. And
it was definitely after the clap, not right at 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And then, I feel like as a ref, I definitely get like if the most replay I saw is just what they were showing that night.
Yep.
It looked like I felt like every replay kind of stopped at one point, or it looked like he was trying to get back up.
Yeah.
I think as a ref, I agree with. I mean, if you're everything you're saying, like if you watch today, that's a good stop.
Yeah.
But the other factors are, like you just said, it's a championship fight. And Cruz did say, I told the ref, let me go out. Let me go like completely out. And do you give that guy
what do you think
2
about
seconds?
That statement?
Yeah, well, some guys do like that. I mean, they want that. I mean,
but you're asking the ref to not do his job.
You are.
Because ultimately the ref, yes, he's in there to help decide the fight, but he's in there, his number one priority is to protect the fighters.
Right.
If somebody's unconscious and he sees a punch going, that ref can go in, stop that punch, call the fight.
Right.
I mean,
I think what the ask is there is if it looks like I'm in trouble, like against the cage or something, don't stop it. Go ahead and let me, I think part of the fighter mentality there is I've put in the work, I've put in the effort. If I'm going to lose, let me go out. I've heard that statement before from those guys, Great example is Michael Bisping got choked out by a GSP. Yeah. And he was one of those guys that said, I wasn't going to tap.
Right.
I'd rather go out than tap.
Yep.
And fight it out until the end. So I guess it's just a mentality thing. With it being 2 seconds left, it's a hindsight's 20/20. Give it 2 seconds and let them come back out and try it again.
That's kind of where my mind is at. If this stoppage was with a minute left in the round, I think it would be far less controversial. And just that statement alone makes me think, okay, the stoppage was fine. It's just that we all wanted those 2 seconds to pass so they could get to the next round.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I felt like, too, that Cruz was trying to find his way the first round and, like, just he was starting to shake the ring rust and get a groove in there. So I would like to have seen more of that. As
we said, I'm not a Cejudo fan, and I definitely am a Dom Cruz fan. So it's for me to admit all that is tough.
Yeah.
To go on Cejudo's side. I think the more I look at it and think about it, I'm okay with the stoppage.
So that begs the question. I mean, if he's going to retire, that begs the question, what's next for that division? And there's a couple names out there.
Yeah. So did you hear Dana afterwards?
No, I did not.
So they asked Dana about that, and he immediately said Peter Yan gets a title shot. To whoever it's against that's what's up in the air.
The other name I have is Aljamain Sterling.
Okay.
He's like ranked second or third right now. He's been putting on a good show. I mean,
they asked Dana about the Cejudo retirement. He said Cejudo's been hinting at that to Dana for about 2 or 3 months. So he said it was no surprise. And Dana's always said once a fighter is thinking about retirement,
even mention it,
that means they're no longer 100% committed. And if you want to keep that fighter safe, keep them from getting truly hurt, they should just step away.
They should retire, yeah. No, I agree with that.
He was okay with the Cejudo retirement if it's real, and as we said. And, yeah, he immediately said Peter Yan, no questions asked, is in the next title fight. It's just a matter of who it's against.
Yeah. I think Yan should have fought Cejudo, but Cejudo kind of put that off. So, yeah. Who knows?
You think Dom Cruz comes back? Think he fights again? Or you think he retires?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends. I think that question a week from now is going to be different than if you asked him today.
Yeah.
He's probably got to see, like, how does my body feel after this? That kind of thing.
Yeah. It'll be interesting with Dom Cruz comes back to announcing, because we know he'll do that.
Yeah.
And I think he's got a long-term future doing that.
Oh, absolutely.
It'll be interesting when he comes back, the next couple controversial stoppages we have, what side of that fence he goes on.
Or when that ref steps in the ring and call a fight again.
That's true. I didn't think about that.
Yeah. So that'd be that's a good point.
So he, like I said, I'm a fan of Cruz. Some of his comments after the fight, about the ref, about the stoppage, the way he kind of acted like a baby in the ring, in my opinion, yanking his arm away.
Yeah.
It almost made me look at him as like he announces these fights. He's really in good with Dana White, an employee. Obviously, all the fighters are employees, but an employee of the UFC ringside. I almost felt like he was talking like somebody that's rather entitled and gets different privileges above the other fighters.
Yeah, it was a different vibe. And then
the favorite child whining to the parents. You know what I
mean?
He
went right to Dana too, and Dana came in the ring. I was like,
So again, I'm a fan of him, but the way he acted after that fight kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's move on to the main event. This thing. What did I say before they started this?
Yeah, get the tarps out. There's going to be some blood.
Wrap that ring in plastic, man. There's going to be some blood. And then before the fight starts, this was my highlight of the night. And I got up the next morning and was still laughing about it. Sitting around. I'm just sitting around. I just start chuckling. I'm like, oh, man. So everybody knows that, Tony Ferguson's really weird.
Yeah.
Great fighter. No, there's nothing. I mean, the guy's a great fighter. He's just kind of weird. He's always posting on social media odd workouts, and he's punching a wooden post and just running across a bunch of tires.
Yeah.
And Gaethje comes out, and then all of a sudden you hear the camera flips to the back, and you see Ferguson getting ready to go. And in my mind, I was like, what is this walkout song? And then just as I get ready to say something, you speak up and you say, hey, Tony, what do you want for your walkout song? I don't know. Jock James Volume 12, pick a track.
You're welcome. I've known you a while, and I've never seen you laugh that hard.
I cried. Because I'm like, oh my gosh, Jock Jams, Volume 12, pick a track. And then I Google Jock Jams, there's only 5 volumes, but it didn't matter. The whole point was, because one of the first things that came to mind was like, did he pick out Jock Jams? And then he just all of a sudden threw it there. I'm like, oh my God.
He found it under his car seat. I haven't seen that in a while.
Yeah.
Here, let's pick a track of this.
High School 01. Play this.
I used to listen to Jock Jams in my Discman on the way to hockey games when I was a kid.
Discman.
Yep.
I used to do basketball ball handling with Jock Jams.
Well, yeah.
So anyway, the fight.
Two main things. I mean, Ferguson's got one hell of a chin on him because Gaethje's got some power, some big-time power for that weight class.
So Ferguson, I posted a video today. He was still in the hospital, but he was dancing, walking around with his IV. He does have a broken orbital bone.
Okay. Not surprising.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me either.
Gaethje, I've watched the last few fights of Gaethje. Prior to that, I admit I didn't know a whole lot about him, but I was extremely impressed with his boxing in that fight, to the point where I would rank him among all weight classes as one of the best boxers based on what I saw Saturday night. It was very impressive to me.
So if you've never seen Gaethje Poirier, go watch that fight, because Poirier's got great boxing skills, and they did the same thing. Those two just stood and swung and took punches from each other, and eventually Gaethje just went out. He just couldn't take it anymore, but Poirier definitely hits harder than Ferguson. Yeah. I mean, props to Ferguson, man. He took some punches. I was like, even in the first round, I'm like, how is he still on his feet?
So that kind of reminded me a lot of Nate Diaz, where your chin is, they say you're too tough for your own.
Yes.
Or they say you're too stupid for your own health or something like that. Most guys would have, the way Gaethje was hitting him, most guys in that weight class would have been knocked out in the first round. And Ferguson lasted almost all five, and probably not good for his overall health. Yes. He would have taken less damage if he got knocked the hell out in the first round.
Gaethje is, I've watched some of his I've watched this kid last few fights. He mentioned in his interview, he said, I had to change. I was taking too much damage. And he's absolutely right. There was a time I was like, man, this kid's fun to watch. He's exciting. he keeps fighting like that, he's not going to last. And he even mentioned one time, I got 2 fights left and I'm done, because he was taking so much damage. And he was just like, going to finish out his contract.
Yeah.
I think things have changed for him. I do like Gaethje against Khabib. I do.
Yep.
So does Dustin Poirier. They've asked Poirier a couple times, like, who's going to knock off Khabib?
Yep.
I picked Poirier to beat Khabib. I said it's a bad matchup for Khabib. I think Khabib picks his opponents based on skill sets, and he'll put off a fight as long as put off Ferguson. How many times?
Yeah.
Poirier's got good wrestling, and at one point he's got way better boxing than Khabib. And at one point, I only watched most of the highlights. At one point, he had Khabib in a chokehold and just about had it, but he was too sweaty, couldn't get it locked in. Yeah. And then eventually, he's like, I made one wrong move, and Khabib got a hold of me, got it locked in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Khabib pretends to have much of a boxing game. It's all about the ground game.
Yeah,
I think he's better than you give him credit for. I know you're not really a fan of him.
He's got terrible boxing skills.
Yeah. I think he would admit that, to be honest.
Yeah, he's got terrible boxing skills. It's just like his fundamentals of like where his hands are. He's always just walking around with his hands down.
I mean, when he gets you on the ground, though, his ground and pound and his wrestling, everything, I mean, you can't make a mistake against him.
Right.
There are definitely guys that can hang with him, but as soon as you make 1 or 2 mistakes, it's over.
I mean, I said that there was no way Conor beat him. I mean, Conor still thinks he can beat him. I still think Conor's going to beat him. And the reason I say that, and I'll give Conor credit. There's some guys where, like, he fought Diaz the first time, made adjustments, come back, won.
Yeah.
Conor is one of those great fighters. He does his homework. That's a terrible matchup for him. He's got terrible ground defense.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yep.
He got terrible takedown defense.
Yep.
But someone like Gaethje, who's an all-American wrestler, and he gets asked after every fight, why didn't you take him to the ground? He says, I don't need to. He's got great takedown defense. He's going to be able to sprawl.
Yep.
And I think he's going to be bigger than Khabib, size-wise. That's going to be tough for Khabib.
Yeah.
It's going to make him stronger, I think. So that's where I think that's a really bad matchup for Khabib. Poirier was too, and that was a tough fight for Khabib. Yep. But Gaethje's going to be a tough fight. And Poirier said that's the guy that beats him.
Yeah. I got no problem with that. After Saturday night, I'm be honest with you, I just became a huge Gaethje fan. He's the real deal. I'd love to see that fight just in general. I think. Yeah. We'll see.
It was great. Took the belt off, threw it, and said, what are you doing? He said, I want the real one.
Yeah. They asked him about that in the post-fight press conference, and he kind of backed off that a little bit. He's like, he said, I'm a ultra competitor, and I want the real belt, but I definitely do appreciate where I'm at right now, and this is no small feat. He was definitely a little more appreciative of that belt, even though it's the interim title.
Because there was a tweet that came out right after he won. I'm assuming it's probably the gym or his team who works out. They made a comment like, "Oh, we brought home another strap." So there's more to that belt than him.
Yeah. Yes.
He gets in there and puts in the work, but there's people behind you that they put in their time to help you train and get you better and teach you. So you gotta.
Yeah.
That means a lot to them.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
Upcoming, I am curious about the Wednesday night fight, Anthony Smith and Teixeira.
Yep.
That should be a good fight. That's going to that might realign some stuff in the light heavyweight division. I think if Anthony Smith wins that fight, you might see Smith Reyes.
Yeah.
That fight could happen.
Yeah, I was going to say, if Smith wins, it creates some fights at the top of the pecking order. If Teixeira wins, I'm not sure it really does anything for the division. Teixeira, to me, is a guy that's still a very solid fighter, but he's definitely past his prime, had his chances. And Smith's got a lot more on the line in that fight than Teixeira does.
I think so, too.
So,
and then the other one upcoming is Saturday. I highlighted Walt Harris is fighting Alistair Overeem. So you get Walt's first fight since his daughter was murdered. Yeah. So other than that, just that step of him getting back in the octagon, which is huge, and props to him. This fight, to me, Walt Harris has more to gain than Overeem. Overeem's been around for a really long time.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And Walt Harris in the heavyweight division, this could shake things up and move his stock up and down. Yep. I have Walt Harris possibly win this fight and fight Curtis Blades, who's ranked 4th or 5th.
Yeah.
Just my predictions.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got like you say, Walt Harris, if he wins, we've mentioned a couple times the heavyweight division being thin. Another name that jumped out at me for Wednesday is Ovince St. Preux is jumping up to the heavyweight ranks.
Oh, yes.
He's fighting at Ben Rothwell.
We talked about that, yeah.
So that to me, that's two guys, St. Preux and Harris. If they could get wins Wednesday and Saturday night, there's two more reasonable names that are maybe moving up the ranks in heavyweight.
Yeah, because St. Preux lost to Anthony Smith.
Yeah.
So now you're in line behind him. There's a pecking order there, obviously, in that division.
Light heavy, yeah.
And fighting in general, so you might as well just move up.
Yeah. To my knowledge, this is his first fight at heavyweight.
I think
he's
is.
He's always been light heavy.
Yeah.
So I know he's had a few losses lately, but as thin as heavyweight is, you never know. Might be a good place for him. It'd be interesting to see what a guy like that weighs on fight night. Obviously, you got the 265 limit. I've never thought of him as a massive heavyweight.
Right? Does he come in at like 230, 240?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. If he's 230 and has Rothwell will be the opposite. He'll be a guy that cuts weight to get to 265.
Right.
So it'd be interesting if there's potentially like a 40-pound weight difference. If Rothwell gets 265, then jumps back up
right.
Fight night.
Because you could fight a heavyweight anything over 205.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the one weight class, but
So like you said, if St. Preux is 230, Rothwell cuts to 265 and jumps back up 275, 280 on fight night, you could have a 45, 50-pound difference in a fight.
Now, I'm also curious, now that I say that, because anything over 205, you fight a heavyweight. I'm curious if some of those fights, if there's something, would athletic commissions that say they have to be within a percentage or with so many pounds of each other, or if there's something written in those fight agreements to say, all right, well, I only weigh 240 pounds. That guy weighs 260. You going to make him cut weight or?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know,
because that's a weight class you could have big discrepancy in weight.
I think. I don't think you could force a guy to cut more weight because technically you're under. If Rothwell weighs 265 on weigh-in night and jumps back up to 275, he's made weight. I don't think you could. You can't force a guy to cut down to 240, but there may be some sort of monetary something in there. Hey, I'm taking a bigger risk. I want
more money.
Yeah. So
that's true.
That'd be an interesting factor.
I'd love to see one of those fight contracts.
I don't think I've ever seen a heavyweight under 240.
I don't think so either. I think if you're that close, John Jones walks around at 230.
Yeah.
And fights 205. So I think if you're that close, you just cut down to 205.
Yeah. I thought there was a heavyweight that typically did fight around 240, 245. I'm slipping on who that is. Might even be oh my God.
Stipe is
Brown Pride, Mexican.
Oh, yeah.
DC's buddy.
Yeah, Senator Cain Velasquez.
Yes. He might be the one that typically fought around
probably
245.
Stipe usually hovers around 240.
Yeah, that might be who I'm thinking of too. So
Stipe's in good shape. So,
but to my knowledge, I've never seen a heavyweight weigh in under 240.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting what St. Preux weighs. Maybe St. Preux is bigger than I'm remembering, but I don't think he was a guy that had to cut much to get to 205.
No, I don't think he's ever missed weight.
Yeah.
That I can remember, but this is fun.
We'll see.
Log fight game, man. I'm glad we started to do this. So I'm not sure. I think they're still up in the air about the next pay-per-view. There's fights this week, and after that, it's still up in the air. So I guess when we find out more and see more fights, we'll do this again.
Yeah. Sounds good.
All right, buddy.